Hey Falcon fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into our Falcons news and review video here on a Tuesday as we are 9 days away from the NFL drafts. Plenty of draft coverage coming up here in just 1 second. Our first big story, though, is the curious case of Kyler Murray. Now, you might have seen this story on Twitter, and if you have, well, I'm going to dive deeper into it. But if you have not, there's a lot going on in Arizona right now, and it somehow links to our Atlanta Falcons. Let me explain. So, Pro Football Talk, along with other people in the media, NFL Network, ESPN, they've all reported that right now, not only could Kyler Murray be traded away from the Arizona Cardinals due to the fact he wants a new contract, and Arizona, for everything we have heard, has not offered anything spectacular up to this point, so he could be leaving, and the Falcons could be interested as one of the teams wanting to trade for Kyler Murray due to the fact they don't have a quarterback of the future unless you love Marcus Mariota, which I know most of us are like, not exactly for the next 5 to 10 years. Murray, as I mentioned, unhappy his lack of a new deal in Arizona. Arizona's mentioned that he's kind of been babied. Like he's kind of been, childish in terms of his play style. He's not a good locker room guy. Is it true? Is it not? Who knows? But that's, the word going around the street right now in AZ. And of course, Atlanta tied in here because they tried to trade for Deshaun Watson, and they were going to trade for Deshaun Watson up until the Browns went, "You want $230 million guaranteed?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll take that." And the Falcons said, "No thanks, peace, I'm out." So here with Pro Football Talk on Kyler Murray. Throw it up on your screen right now. Quote, "Most obvious candidates would be the 3 finalists for Deshaun Watson who didn't get the new Browns quarterback: Panthers, Falcons, and Saints. This assumes that each of those teams would be okay with a quarterback who's on a very short side by NFL starting quarterback standards. The Eagles possibly would be interested," end quote. So here's my question. I don't know if I need to get into, is Kyler good or not? I think Kyler's a fine quarterback. I think you could really build around him. I think you'd be successful with him. That's very clear. What will Kyler cost? This is always what I say. What would Deshaun Watson cost? What would Russell Wilson cost? What would trade for Jimmy Garoppolo cost? All questions I've asked the past couple of weeks. Is Kyler worth 3 first-round draft picks? That's probably what Arizona's going to want for him. Do I really think that you want to give up 3 first-round draft picks for Kyler Murray? That's where I kind of hesitate and go, maybe not. 2 first-round draft picks, I'd do it right now. 3, though, you talk about this year's, next year's, and 2024's, that is a lot to go ahead and give up for a guy who, again, has had a lot of success, but you take DeAndre Hopkins off the field, and he was very, very mediocre and average the second half of 2022, and there's no one close to DeAndre Hopkins currently on the Atlanta Falcons, and no one seemingly that's going to be close, because if you trade away your first-round draft pick, then there goes Drake London or Garrett Wilson. So just know that Kyler, this whole thing, maybe it develops during the NFL draft, maybe it doesn't, maybe it becomes, a non-issue, a non-story, and they just re-sign him. But as of right now, Kyler unhappy with this current situation in Arizona, and there are NFL writers and experts who are linking him to Atlanta if Atlanta would be interested in trading for a different quarterback. Ad break down below, answer this comment: would you trade 3 first-round draft picks for Kyler Murray? Like 3 first-round draft picks. Seriously, this year, next year, 2024, would you do it? Let me know. I'm going to read your answers right now. All right, let's go and jump into the NFL Mock Draft here by Kiper and McShay. They do a dueling mock draft. First, though, before we do that, you guys subscribe to the channel because we are producing a ton of Falcon-related content almost every single day here as we are 9 days away from the NFL Draft. 9, like literally 9. And we're going to have plenty more coverage, news, rumors, mock drafts, projected picks, tons of stuff, including reactions after and grading the picks. If you guys like that, go down below and subscribe. You will be up to date, more so than any of the channel here on YouTube. That's my personal guarantee to you. All right, as mentioned, Kiper and McShay did a dueling mock draft. They do this every single year where, McShay takes the odd numbers, Kiper takes the even numbers, and they go back and forth on these draft picks. And it's fascinating to see both minds working together. And so we dive into what the Falcons did with their first 2 draft picks, according to McShay and Kiper. So we start with number 8 overall. That was a Kiper pick because he was the even numbers. He took Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver, out of Ohio State. Not a surprise. This has been a mock draft we talked about a lot here on the channel. They're saying wide receiver at 8, which, again, you look at the depth chart, and it's much needed, which is, obviously why they would go ahead and mock a guy like Garrett Wilson here. But I just don't know if Garrett Wilson makes the most sense for a Falcons team that needs more help defensively than offensively. And that's not saying much because they need help offensively, but to me, the defense is a little bit more of a need here. But Kiper decided to go ahead and go with Wilson, who, again, I wouldn't be like, boo, anti-Garrett Wilson. He'd be fine. You just wonder if you could trade back, maybe pick up some additional draft capital and get a player equally as good just on the defensive side of the football. 43 overall, it's very interesting. 43 overall is a Todd McShay pick, and so McShay again had all the odd picks, and Kiper had the even picks, and so they went ahead and Kiper went ahead and went with Kyle Gordon, the cornerback out of Washington. It's a name we haven't heard about a lot, haven't talked about a lot here in terms of Atlanta Falcons today, but he is a very good starting caliber cornerback, and the question is, do you want him to start day 1? You just signed Casey Hayward, and so can you move somebody to the slot slot, but you re-sign Isaiah Oliver, and so there are some question marks here in terms of when Kyler could actually play. But he is a very, very good cornerback, and he comes from essentially DBU. And no, it's not LSU, it's Washington, because that is a place that has a ton of corners. And his fellow teammate, Trent McDuffie, is going to go in the first round to a cornerback-needy team. So essentially, the Falcons did address two big needs here, and that is wide receiver and cornerback. But the question then becomes, what would the rest of this draft look like if Kiper McShay kept going? When would you add a pass rusher? Because you did add a corner this offseason. I know you got Lorenzo Carter as a pass rusher, but really you need another pass rusher. So I don't hate this. I don't mind it. It's fun to always see these guys kind of go back and forth on what they think. But overall, I do think that these two big needs were addressed by the Atlanta Falcons. That leads us into, of course, the next couple picks, because they did keep going in this alternating mock draft. Drake Jackson is your next pass rusher, and so that answers a lot of needs we just asked. It's like, when are you getting a pass rusher? Jackson out of USC makes a lot of sense, and I think that he could be a very good I'd say a pass rusher who would play a lot of games. I mean, he would literally be starting pretty darn quickly in terms of needing to get on the football field, and so you go ahead and add him. He makes a lot of sense. Next pick, of course, was it was 74 overall. I can remember these things. Mel Kiper went ahead and took 74 overall, and that was Troy Anderson. So you add a linebacker here. Somebody you didn't watch a lot of out of Montana State, but one of those smaller school linebackers who has a ton of tackles during his career and could be a very good player. And the question really becomes, is he going to start immediately? Because he is an inside linebacker, with Deion Jones seemingly still there. That would be a question mark to remain to be seen as things would go ahead and continue. But he is definitely a decent pick overall for the Atlanta Falcons, and I think Kiper did a good job there. And finally, the next pick here, number 82 overall, again done by Kiper because he had all the even ones, was Matthew Butler, the interior defensive lineman out of the University of Tennessee. A run stopper, a hole clogger, as they say, at D-tackle, and someone to go and pair alongside Grady Jarrett and Marlon Davidson, who will be healthy this year from a D-line perspective. And so overall, it's not a bad mock. You got your wide receiver, you got your cornerback, you went ahead and got a linebacker, you went ahead and got a pass rusher, you had a D-tackle. Like, this is not a bad one. I think this is a pretty darn good mock draft when you take it into its entirety the first couple of rounds. I'd give it an A-. Like, I think this wouldn't be the worst mock draft of all time. Maybe a B+, but I want to see what you guys think. Grade this mock down below right now in the comment section. Give me your thoughts in terms of how McShay and Kiper did in their alternating mock draft by giving me your grade. I don't necessarily hate it. All right, before we're going to get into our final bit of news here on Olamide Zaccheaus, if you guys want to bet on anything happening in the NBA playoffs right now, maybe the Hawks come back and get a win tonight. They need to win here in Game 2 against the Heat. Do that, friends, at BetUS. Chatsports.com/bet. That promo code is Falcons125 to get you a 125% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up. Turns your $100 deposit bonus into $225 for you to throw on the Hawks, or the Hawks are going to lose, throw on the Heat, or throw on the Nets, or the Celtics, or whoever you guys want to bet on in the NBA playoffs. Plenty more things to bet on besides the NBA. Check it all out with our friends at BetUS. Use our link in our promo code chatsports.com/bet, and that promo code Falcons125. All right, quick story here, just a minute on this. Olamide Zaccheaus has signed his official tender, as he was tendered earlier this offseason, and had a chance to, shop around and have somebody else pay him a $2.3 million this year, I think. Either way, he decides to stay with the Atlanta Falcons, meaning that Atlanta keeps a wide receiver that they desperately need to keep. And while I'm not a big Zaccheaus fan, when you put him alongside the rest of these wide receivers in the depth chart, he at least is better than the rest of them. Like, if we're talking about Bird, Hodge, Auden Tate, I mean, this is just a brutal wide receiver depth chart. And so I guess you got to hope that maybe they get a wide receiver at number 8 overall. But Zaccheaus is officially signed, and so this is not a surprise, but he will be an Atlanta Falcon in 2022 and give you one more weapon for Marcus Mariota, even though he's more like a wide receiver 3. Let's see what they do at wide receiver in the draft. Let me just finish with that. All right, grade the Falcons' current wide receiver depth chart before we end today's video. Scale of 1 to 100. How good or bad is it, right? 100 being the best receiving core ever, which is not. 1 being the worst, which is not, but it's close. Give me your grade on the Falcons' current wide receiver depth chart. All right, ultimate day on our Atlanta Falcons news and rumor video. Be sure to check out our mailbag video happening later on this week, so subscribe for that. And of course, if you're going to get a mailbag question asked and answered, use the hashtag Falcons to go ahead and get your mailbag question, put it in the comment section, and then we'll pull it and hopefully answer it in an upcoming video. Again, ultimate day on our Atlanta Falcons news and rumor video. I'm Thomas Mott, signing off for the rest of your day.